Welcome to Cannon Talk, people, the Arsenal podcast that tells it like it is. I'm Distant Gooner, and if this is your first time on the channel, welcome to the channel where season tickets are not required to have an opinion. I don't care whether you're from London, Leeds, Manchester, Lagos, New York, Melbourne, wherever you are in the world. You have just as much of an opinion as any match-going supporter. This is the channel for you, so please get involved in the discussion and throw any comments my way on any of the content. We'll be bringing you your weekly fix of Arsenal news from on the pitch, off the pitch, in the headlines. No sugarcoating, no spin, no bullshit, just unfiltered, passionate Arsenal talk. So grab a brew, settle in, or if you want something stronger, that's absolutely fine. Let's get into it, people. And first upon the agenda today is we're out of the Champions League. Depressing way to start, I know. Yeah, it was heartbreaking, if I'm honest. As some of you will know, I haven't done a match reaction, so effectively this is my match reaction to that. And I needed to let it settle. I've got to be honest. It was a hard watch. But you know, I've seen many of the comments online. I've seen many of the talk over the last few days. So I had time to kind of digest, let it settle in. And if I'm honest, I don't think, you know, if you'd have watched my match preview, and I don't like doing this, but I did predict that we would lose. I couldn't see us winning. After that first leg defeat, I just think it was too much. You know, the eyes don't lie. In that first game, PSG danced us off the park. It was frighteningly good. As much as we did have chances, they were really, really good. And I just couldn't see how we were going to go to the Parc des Princes and effectively beat them to go through to the final. I was hoping and praying that obviously it would happen, of course, but it just wasn't to be. But as I say, I mean, many people, again, who watch the channel regularly, I have dared to utter those words, Arteta out, on a couple of occasions. Usually when it's, you know, a passionate rant off the back of a loss and, you know, the emotions are high. But when I watched that game in isolation, so forgetting, let's put the first leg aside. We know we effectively lost the game in that first leg. But that second leg, I've got to be honest, people, and I think it was one of our better performances. Bearing in mind the stakes, how good the opposition were, those first 20 minutes, I'm pretty sure I haven't seen a better first 20 minutes from Arsenal, certainly this season. You know, we really took it to them, and I cannot knock the guys for that. I think it was a phenomenal start. You know, the chances, oh my God, the chances that we had, and that's where I guess the disappointment is, because the chances were so good, and they should have been buried. And this is where, you know, the old argument comes back to the summer transfer window, the January transfer window, the endless transfer windows before that, to be honest. The lack of investment in the creativity, the attacking threat. It just hasn't been there. And of course, it's left us so exposed that we just missed chance after chance. And of course, it wasn't helped by the fact that they had Donnarumma in goal, who was just outstanding across both legs. You know, he was amazing. I mean, I'm thinking specifically in those first 20 minutes, you look at Rice straight away with a point-blank header. Should have done better. Should have buried it. End of. Martinelli, again, wasteful when when it comes to him, he's just not clinical enough. Odegaard, I mean, with that one, I'd say fantastic save from Donnarumma. It'd have been great if it was just a bit more in the corner, but, you know, I can't knock. It was a great effort, a great save, and, you know, we should have been up in that game, and who knows what could have happened at that point. But yeah, they PSG then started to get back into it. The player that I cannot pronounce his name, Carrot's failure or whatever. He's not a failure. He's fucking amazing. However, we did manage him well in this game. I've got to say, in that second leg, you didn't see an awful lot of him. Of course, when you did see him, he hit the post with a fantastic effort, and that was almost a catalyst for them to get back into the game. And it's ironic, wasn't it, that we were all clambering for Partey to be back in midfield to marshal us, and he's the guy that, as I think it was a free kick that came in, a poor clearance with his head, went straight to Fabian Ruiz, who took it greatly on his chest, but there's no getting away from it. It took a massive, wicked deflection off William Saliba, and it gave Raya no chance, effectively no chance whatsoever. And at that point, it was deflating because we'd been so good up to that point, and effectively that killed the game. You know, I mean, it was. If we weren't climbing a mountain beforehand, we certainly were at this point. And from that point on, it was fairly even, but then they go and get another goal in the second half with, Hakimi, what a fullback. He took that goal like a striker, and the penalty I thought I've got to say, was ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. It was just not a penalty. The justice was done. Raya made a fantastic save. So, and then towards the end, of course, Saka gets a goal back, and we're thinking, is there a glimmer of hope? Maybe. And then, obviously, what was it? Probably about 2 minutes later, Trossard put a ball in from the left, and my God, it went past Donnarumma, and it was a glaring open goal for Saka that he just skied over the bar, and that was that, people. That was that. Who knows? It just, it wasn't to be. It was disappointing, but I cannot, and I hate saying this, because when people generally talk about, I can't fault the team, there's, no lack of effort there, you're generally covering for a lack of quality. How many times have you heard managers say, I can't fault the lads, they tried excellent, tried really hard, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to say that I think they tried so hard, and I think they played really, really bloody well. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just come up against a better team. End of. Where I will criticise Arteta is, of course, the stupid comments after the game saying the best team in the competition has gone out. Anybody, and I'm not going to go into the stats, people, but anybody who would have just watched it with their own eyes, and not just watch that, right? Watch the 4 games. So the Inter Milan-Barcelona game, the PSG-Arsenal, so both legs. Please let me know in the comments if you disagree with this, but those 3 teams, and I saw the other games, they were fucking frightening. Frighteningly good. I don't remember ever seeing a semi-final with the quality of that Inter Milan-Barcelona game. It was unbelievable. Unbelievably good. And looking at those two, along with PSG, I've got to be honest, and they're worlds apart. Let's face it, they are worlds apart from Arsenal right now. If we looked at the game, yes, we can be solid. We created chances. I'm not disregarding that. But fundamentally, we couldn't get the goals. And the all-round quality of play from both of those sides, the free side, should I say, were phenomenal. And I think way better. And it just shows us the levels that we need to get to, people. It really does. Because, yes, we did well to get where we were. But I think we were by far and away the 4th best team out of those. That's just my opinion. Of course, Mikel Arteta massively disagrees. Now, of course, that led to a massive clambering of, Arteta out. And, I understand the passion, I understand the disappointment, but I think, and I, like I said at the start of this, I've been one of those people that has kind of said those things. I've got frustrated and almost had enough of the performances as much as anything else. The results have been disappointing this season as well, but it's the negativity, it's the lack of creativity, it's the lack of change in anything that has really, really frustrated the hell out of me. Regardless if we haven't got the best options in the world, we still have options. There's still, 7 or 8 bodies on the bench. You know, regardless of the quality that's there, you've got to surely utilise them. You know, if anything, the lack of quality is down to you. You know, you brought a lot of these players through. Yes, we know we have injuries, but everybody has injuries. But you just have to deal with it. And that doesn't mean you don't utilise the other people that you've got. The Wanyeris of this world. I mean, I suppose, look, we've as I've mentioned Wanyeri now, there's been a lot of talk about, you know, he should have played him, he should have dropped Ødegaard. Now, I know, and I agree that Ødegaard has been shit. Absolutely shit. And if you've seen any of my videos over the last probably month, then it's virtually been a theme throughout all of them that he is just crap. However, I still wouldn't have dropped him in this game. I think, you know, with the experience that he has, and again, I've said many times, Wanyeri to me is not, well, he's certainly not in the Saka position, and I know that tends to be where Arteta puts him in. He puts him out wide, and I don't think that's his bag necessarily. I think it probably is in the Ødegaard position, if not a bit more forward than that, to be honest, more of a number 10. But he has been, as much as I love him, and I think he'll be an amazing player, when he has played recently, yeah, he's had spells and he's scored the odd goal, but for a lot of the time he has been quiet, dare I say. He hasn't done an awful lot. You know, if we're honest about it, he hasn't. So I don't see that putting him in a game of this nature, he would have done anything if he doesn't do anything for long spells against the likes of Ipswich. You know, and then you're going to throw him in against PSG. It's just, I just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But that being said, there's still no reason why, you know, if you need a goal and you've got half an hour left or whatever, that you can't be utilising him and bringing him on in those times. You know, we lack so much in the way of creativity. Even though we created, it sounds stupid because we did create so many chances at the start of this game. Although, I mean, I haven't heard any of these comments referencing Stoke, but I am surprised because if you notice in this game, Thomas Partey, it was clearly a tactic that every time we had a throw-in, it was a long throw-in. And he's got a good throw-in, to be fair, but he caused chaos. And that's, you know, fair play, but it was an interesting tactic that I've not seen utilised that often. I mean, usually it's us throwing in the corners. Now it was the throw-ins. So, but again, you know, a lot of those chances came from things like that, rather than open play creativity. You know, we went through a phase with Wenger where we had an absolute load of these types of players. I'm thinking the Rosickis, Hlebs, Fabregas, Nasri, people like that, Arshavin, would buy these kind of small, diminutive, quick, skillful players that look to create. And I remember at the time thinking, oh man, it's another one of these players. And don't get me wrong, a lot of those were good, but we needed something else. You know, we were crying out for a long time for a Vieira, you know, a strong leader in the middle of that pitch, not the hosts of these small players that will go missing sometimes. But now it's just flipped completely the other way, where we're strong, we're solid, but we haven't got any players like that anymore. Any of those small, creative, forward-looking players. And it's really frustrating to watch. It's a hard watch every time you watch Arsenal right now. And that's the most frustrating thing, that I do point the finger at Arteta. Because, you know, it's not like he hasn't been given a load of money. And he just fucking loves buying defenders. He loves buying defenders, defensive midfield players that we don't need. Yeah, it's just, that's where I get frustrated with Arteta. But that all being said, as I say, I think what I would give him credit for is he clearly set us up right for that second leg. Yes, it didn't go our way. We couldn't put the chances away. And at the end of the day, the best team won. End of. And then we're back to the Premier League. And of course, like I've been saying and harping on about, we have let this Premier League just drift away. I know we'd been out of, if you could ever call it a title race, that was long gone ages ago. I get that. But we should have cemented second by now, and we've just let it drift with absolute piss-poor performances continually that we're now in a position, now we're knocked out of the Champions League, where all of our eggs were in that basket. We're now back to the Premier League, where we're in a battle to keep second, and then it's how low do you go, because it's so tight. You know, rarely have I seen a Champions League race that's been so tight in the Premier League. And, of course, our first game back was against Liverpool at Anfield, and we never win there. The champions no less. And, of course, it was the whole Guard of Honour shenanigans and that big deal made about this. And, to be honest, where I stand on this, people, is it's always been done. You know, respect to Liverpool, I don't like them, but, you know, they clearly deserve to win the league, and they've won it by a distance. So they fully deserve that respect, and I've got no issue with the Guard of Honour whatsoever. Miles Lewis-Skelly did clap, by the way. I've seen some stupid nonsense about him not clapping. He clearly did clap, so I don't know, you know, what this agenda is about getting at Miles Lewis-Skelly. It's a fucking joke. They need to just leave this alone. He did clap, and to be fair, he managed his game particularly well against Salah. But ultimately, we drew the game 2-2, which I've got to say, I was reasonably happy with, because, as I say, we never win at Anfield, so that just wasn't going to happen. But a draw I was more than happy with, because especially after that first half performance, which was, I mean, again, we start okay. You know, I think we're playing fairly decent, but all of a sudden, Liverpool get a goal, and then a goal probably 2 minutes later as well. At this point, I'm kind of thinking, what is the score going to be? You know, we've been here before at Anfield, where they've knocked in 4 goals before you know it. I've seen it many times, and I was fully expecting it at this point. Now, fair play, we managed to kind of hold it together, at least to get through to half-time with still at 2-0. And then second half started. There seemed to be a shift in terms of Martinelli moving down the middle a bit. Could be wrong, but he certainly found himself in the middle for the goal. Trossard putting a lovely cross from the left. And to be fair, it's a brilliant header by Martinelli. A little glancing header that went straight into the corner. A fantastic header from Martinelli. And to be fair, I'd like to see him at top a lot more than what he has done. I don't know why we haven't utilised him there. And I've got to give a shout out as well to the miserable bastard that I always point out, which is Trossard. You know, he's gone missing a lot of times, and I've had a go at him for, again, his lack of quality, for want of a better word. But I thought he was one of our best. In fact, I think he was the best player against Liverpool. I think he was really, really good. Always showing for the ball, generally keeping it, which I kind of expected, because of course he's got a hat-trick at Anfield previously for Brighton. So, you know, you get all these players that tend to just favour playing at certain grounds. A bit like Martinelli, he likes playing at Anfield. He scored there before a number of times. So, yeah, he really stepped up, and he actually really impressed me. So, and I know there's been talk since about renewing his contract. I mean, we'll get onto that in a bit, because that's a separate issue I'm not completely sure about. But yeah, so, and then Odegaard, oh my God, he actually took a shot outside of the box. It was a good shot. It was powerful. Alisson, as good as he is, it had him flapping to his left, and he pushed it onto the post. And who was there but Mikel Merino? The one good thing that I would say about Mikel Merino is he's just got a knack for being there. You know, he's good at coming into the box at the last minute. I'm still not having anything else about his game. I really am not. I mean, I saw some comments this week about, you know, would you just go with Mikel Merino for a striker next season? And I'm thinking, are you fucking having a laugh? I mean, I couldn't believe the comment. I thought, this is got to be a joke, right? It has to be a joke. I mean, he's just... I'd love people to really... And please comment. Please let me know what your thoughts are on Mikel Merino, because I think he's absolutely bollocks. I'm just not having it. I'm not having him as a midfielder, certainly not as a striker. I'd have him at no more as a squad player, but he definitely, when we bought him in, God knows why we spent the whole summer wasting our time pursuing this player for 40 odd million pounds. It just defies me. And he has not improved the team. You know, I don't have an issue with him being a squad player. Even then, I wouldn't necessarily choose him. But if he's a squad player, I haven't got a massive problem with that. But my point is, he's not a first team player. It just, to me, does not offer enough. End of. But credit to him, he was in the right place at the right time. And he was a good header, although it was an open goal. But, you know, Alisson was coming back. He had to place it in the corner. He did well. And we get it back to 2-2. And at this point, absolutely well chuffed. Now, of course, towards the end, they had that goal disallowed. But we also had, again with Ødegaard, shooting from far out. Which, you know, it was a bit unlucky. He dragged the shot, but at least he was having a go. I'd rather him do that than what he's been doing of late and pivot back or turn sideways and just pass it to somebody else and pass the buck, pass the responsibility on somebody else to have the effort. It was good to see him taking responsibility as the captain of this club to try and score a goal, for God's sake. So, yeah, I can't knock him for that. And like I say, at the end of the day, 2-2, bearing in mind how the results went on the weekend, you know, I know Newcastle won, so that put a bit of the pressure onto us. But the other team slipped up, and I was really pleased with the draw. I mean, before this game, we knew it's going to come down to the Newcastle game, isn't it? That's going to be the game that we need to at least not lose, but ideally we need to get revenge for the fucking League Cup game, for God's sake. You know, if they need any incentive for players, that's what they should be looking at, because that's our big game now. The Newcastle game at home. We need to. I really think it's important that we do this, because I just think the look of it. You know, if we were to, I know we've had a poor season, if you like, or a poorer season than what we expected, but second looks a lot better than third and fourth, especially the way that the season's unfolded. I just feel that if, for example, Man City, bearing in mind how bad they have been in comparison to their standards, and we've all berated them for this, you know, and you would have fully expected us to take advantage of that, which we haven't, which of course I think has exacerbated all of our feelings towards Arteta and the team this year, because the fact that Liverpool have come in and been that one that have just taken advantage when it should have been us, I think it's just hurt even more. And again, I can't believe I've not mentioned this as well. Of course, we had the game in midweek. Randomly now, I'm just kind of going from that league game to this, but bear with me. Of course, we saw Man United and Tottenham, unfortunately, get to a European final, which just made the feelings worse, I think, from our defeat in the Champions League. Because the frustrating thing is, right, Tottenham are shit, and let's face it, I just don't care about them. Because it's a shit tournament anyway. I don't want to be in that fucking tournament. It's shit. However, if you're in it, and we have been in it, then I guess, you know, you obviously want to win. Why is it, though, with Man United? They're the ones that really frustrate me, because it doesn't matter how shit they are, they seem to pick up wins, you know, whether it be an FA Cup here and there, a Europa League Cup, and it's just really frustrating. It doesn't matter how shit they are, they still seem to get some silverware along the way, and that's just the frustrating thing of being an Arsenal fan, and that's where we're just lacking. We don't seem to do that. We have these massive spells that we go between winning stuff. You know, and even in the era of Arsene Wenger, where we were consistently winning stuff, but not to the level of, say, a Man United, where we were winning back-to-back titles and stuff. We just don't have that level of dominance that happens. But hey, I'm completely going off on a tangent there. Apologies, bear with me, people. But yeah, so going back to the Premier League, it's all on the Newcastle game, and yeah, I'm just praying that we can get something out of that game to just give us that bit of comfort going into the last game of the season, because you never know. I know it's Southampton, and yeah, we should beat them, but look at Man City, they drew 0-0 with them, so anything can happen, especially when you can't score fucking goals, you know, let's face it. It's so difficult for our defenders right now, because you have to be completely 100% concentrated at all times, because you know 9 times out of 10 if you make a mistake in this team, it's going to cost us the win, because we're not going to get the goals back to overcome it. So it's just, yeah, it's really, really frustrating. But there we have it. So off the pitch, and transfer news has been rife. Fully to be expected, I guess, after we were knocked out of the Champions League. It seems to have amped up since that point, unsurprisingly. And of course, it's the same old stories that come out. You know, we've got a war chest. There was talk the other day of 100 mil plus potentially any player sales. Now, I'm not great at maths, people. However, I think you don't really have to be to know that that is not enough. And if that is what we're working with, which we probably are, then we know what we're going to expect out of this summer. Don't expect a raft of star quality signings, because this is Arsenal, people. We've been here many times before. That is not going to happen. Yes, we need these players, but realistically, I don't sit here believing for 1 minute that that's going to happen. You know, if we were to take that as gospel, that we had this £100 million to spend. Of course, we had that report earlier this week, which has been rumbling on since January, and I've made videos about this before, the Zubamendi story. So Fabrizio Romano reporting that, you know, it's pretty much done. I'm going to wait until it's actually done, because I've heard this a number of times before, and with this player who has formed to change his mind at the last minute. So I'll believe it when I see it. However, if we were assuming that that was correct, then that's 50 million straight away, right? We need a striker. Yeah, we all know it. The whole world knows we need a fucking striker at this football club. We need a winger. Everybody, like, you don't even need to know about football to know that Arsenal need these 2 players. Bare minimum. Yeah, I'm telling you now, and please just keep the recording of this video and shout me down if it doesn't happen, by all means. But I'm pretty confident that come the transfer window, the first signing we'll be talking about is a fucking defender. Because it always happens. Arteta is obsessed. And I don't actually care what's happened over the last few weeks, because I'm still seeing reports of this Huijsen from Bournemouth. Again, they're talking like £50 million. Why the fuck are we... You know, if there's any truth to this rumour, why on earth are we looking at this defender? Now, I'm not saying that he's not a good player, right? I don't know an awful lot about him, but, you know, I'm sure he's a decent player. But we've got fucking Saliba and Gabriel. Unless you're telling me, and I've heard this rumour as well, that one of them are going, then this just does not make sense. So, yeah, I fully expect, I've just seen it before, it'll be a fucking left back or a centre defender. I know how this bloke works. And yes, we've got Berta in, but, you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, going back to this 100 million. So if we've spent Zubamendi 50 million, it doesn't leave a lot. You know, if we're talking Gyökeres is 60 million, then do the maths, that's 110. You know, I don't know where these stories come from, but it is probably true. And how are you going to get all the players you need for this when you're spending money on areas of the pitch that are not essential? Now, we all know that, in all likelihood, Jorginho is going to go, right? But let me just put this to you. As it stands at the moment, if you looked at our team, in terms of defence, in terms of midfield, I would personally be quite happy with keeping all of them. You know, I know that Jorginho is getting on, but let's face it, it's just a backup, and he's a bloody good backup at what he does. And I know he's likely going to go, and he's probably already agreed to go to Flamenco or wherever he was going to go. But if it was me, I'd be tying him down for another year. I'd be getting Partey on a new contract, and I'd be focusing on the areas of improving our team and our squad in those attacking and creative areas. You know, I'm not saying that the likes of a Zubamendi isn't a quality addition to the squad. It's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, to me, you're not addressing the problem. You know, you're not... How many times have we been there, really? Even last summer, if we looked at that, we all knew we needed a striker. So last summer, we know we needed a striker. And all we kept hearing about is this chase and this pursuit for Mikel Merino constantly. And that's obviously what ended up happening. But, most of us were saying throughout that period, why is this effort not being focused on getting the player that you need, which everybody knows that we need, which is an attacking player, a striker and a winger. It was the same story last year as it is today in terms of what we need. And a goalkeeper. And again, right, I know, and I'm just probably waffling and going on now, but while I'm on it, this Juan Garcia. Now, I know, right, again, we need a goalkeeper. I'm not saying we don't need a goalkeeper, but again, we're probably talking like 20 million for this goalkeeper. So, before you know it, we've bought these players, and that 100 million is just gone. Absolutely gone before you've even looked at a striker or a winger. And then you're looking at player sales. And like I said, I am sort of hearing rumours about one of the two defenders going. And I've got to say, if that happens, whilst I'm prepared to sit here and say, at this point, I would give Arteta another year in the job. I would. However, I'm caveating that with the fact that this transfer window needs to be good, because if we do not address these problem areas, we know what's going to happen going into next season. We've seen it all before. And it will just be a repeat and a playback of this season. So I'm just pinning my hopes on that we address our problem areas in the summer. And what I'm hearing so far, I'm absolutely not confident we're going to do it. But for now, I'll be patient and I'll wait to see what happens there. I mean, in terms of strikers that are obviously on the market, let's face it, I think it's getting clearer and clearer that Isak is just not going to be that guy. And I've got to be honest, and like I said before, I'm more than happy with that. Because to me, Viktor Gyökeres is the better all-round player. He is the player I want at this football club. It's a no-brainer. We need to go out and get him and get that deal done. And especially if you're talking that £60 million or something release clause. I mean, that's crazy. Crazy for the ability that guy has. So that we've just got to get done. Winger. Now, the winger one is interesting. And please let me know, again, get in touch with any of these stories that I'm talking about here. Let me know your thoughts on any of these players. Who would you want coming into the club? Who would you want to ship out? I mean, when it comes to the winger areas, I've seen, like I mentioned earlier, comments that we're looking to potentially renew the contract of Trossard. I'm not sure about this. I mean, to me, he's a squad player at best. And if he's just a squad player, I haven't got a massive issue with it. But it wasn't so long ago that he was being linked with clubs in Saudi, who we know are just cash rich. They can just go out and buy whoever they want, let's face it. And if they're throwing a lot of money our way to get somebody of the calibre of Trossard, I would be snapping their hands off. Got to be honest, because whilst it's a balancing act of it sounds stupid, but buying and selling, of course it is. We've got to offload players and make the most out of the players that we've got there. It's not just all about constantly spending 100 million every transfer window. We know the reality isn't that, and Berta is very good at negotiating obviously good deals for players, as in selling players. But I just don't know. I feel like Trossard would be the best one to... I don't know. I'd be happy with offloading any of them. I'm just not sure about this whole renewal of the contract talk. I mean, whether that's to get a better deal, possibly. Get him signed up for a bit longer. Saudi team comes in for him, offers a lot more. We're in a better bargaining position. Could be that. Because to me, I'd be more inclined to offload a Martinelli who, I know he's had his moments and he's had some good seasons for us, but I am getting to the point with Martinelli where his lack of clinicalness, he's pretty predictable now at times. I think most clubs know what he's going to do and can manage that quite easily. He's not doing anything at the moment that makes me convinced that he can take us to the next level or that he can move up another level, more to the point. So he would be somebody, particularly at the age he's at, that we could potentially be getting a bit more money for. So that's somebody that I would like to explore, perhaps manoeuvring out of the club. But in terms of getting somebody in, of course, in those positions, I mean, I think we need two, really, because Sterling is, of course, going to go. If he ever was backup for Saka, I mean, let's face it, he's not fucking played anyway. So, like I said before, I don't see Nwaneri being that backup for him. He's not a winger at the end of the day. So, we need somebody, who is a wide player. And, of course, the main talk has always been about Nico Williams. But I've got to be honest, right? I've seen him for Spain in the Euros, and he was amazing. He was brilliant in those games, and I've taken him all day long. And I'm not saying I won't take him now, but having watched those Man United games, the Bilbao versus Man United games, he was quiet. He was not very good at all. I wasn't impressed, and we did better than that. I mean, there's of course Semenya from Bournemouth, and I don't know about this one. I personally think Kluivert from Bournemouth is a quality player. I really do. And I'd like to see him at Arsenal. I don't know what you guys think of that, but he seems to play anywhere across that front three. He can play left, he can play right, he can play as a false nine. He's got pace, he's direct, he's creative, he's strong, tenacious. I think he's got a lot about his game that certainly could help improve us. You could argue, does it take us to the next level? I don't know, possibly not, but he's certainly a good backup, and if you like, a bit like in the Trossard mould, in the sense that Trossard can cover a number of those positions. So if we suffer injuries like this season, we've got people that we can shuffle around there. So yeah, that's an interesting one. So let me know your thoughts on the Kluivert one. Semenya, that seems to have gone a bit quiet. And again, I'm not sure. I've seen him have good games, seen him have poor games. I'm not completely convinced by him. Something has to be done. There's got to be somebody out there that improves us in the wide areas. As always, please make sure you like the video. Please subscribe to Distant Gooner TV, the channel where you do not need a season ticket to have an opinion on Arsenal Football Club. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we've got you covered. This is the community for you. So please let me know your thoughts on any of the content in this video today. What are your thoughts on the past performances, the PSG match, the Liverpool match, the upcoming Premier League games against Newcastle, and our impending qualification for the Champions League? Where do you think we're going to be placed come the end of the season? And any of the transfer news that we talked about today, or the rumours, should I say, that are rife at this time of the year, and will no doubt over the next few weeks ramp up and up and up, and we'll hear all sorts of shit, all sorts of names that we're linked with that we're never going to get, all sorts of excessive, pots of gold that we've got that we haven't really got. We'll hear it all, people, over the next week. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. It's great to have you on board. Thanks for watching this first episode of Cannon Talk. Great to have you here. Have a great week. See you later.